Yak Gadget, made in America, based outside of Nashville, Tennessee. Yak Gadget offers all kinds of storage accessories, quick mount motor mounts, anchor systems, track mounted accessories, even paddles. Go to yakgadget.com and get your kayak decked out for your next trip out on the water.
The 153 Bait Company, based in Troy, Ohio, make everything from plastics to custom painted hard baits. Hook 'em hard and hook 'em often. All of our baits are made to order, and all of our hard baits are hand painted to order. So go to the153anglers.com to place your order today.
Based in Santa Ana, California, Bioenno Power provides the highest performance lithium-ion phosphate batteries for the marine market. These batteries are 1/4 the weight of sealed lead acid batteries, provide over 2,000 to 3,000 charge cycles, and a 10-plus year service life. These batteries can be used for any deep cycle application, including running fish finders, trolling motors, live wells, and LED lights. For more information, visit bioennopower.com. That's BIOENNOPOWER.com or contact dealers nationwide.
Welcome to the Paddle and Fin Podcast Network. This is the final cast segment with your hosts Brad Hicks and Josh Eldridge, where we cast our final opinions on all products good and bad. Welcome to the final cast.
Yo, what's up, Paddle and Fin? It's Josh from the Final Cast.
Brad.
Tonight, we are doing things a little bit different. We are going to recap a tournament. It's kind of Brad old school stuff, but yeah, we're going to talk to our Clash of Clubs winner from Dale Hollow, the Cincinnati Kayak Fishing team, which included Chris Jauch, Michael Grimsley, and Mr. Chris Anderson. What's up, fellas?
What's up?
What's going on?
So, you guys were big winners this
Thanks for
past
having
week, man. Hey, no problem. My pleasure, Mr. Anderson. But you guys put on a show this weekend, man. It was a good time. I remember receiving a phone call from Chris Anderson. I think it was on Wednesday, and he was like,
Thursday.
"Yeah, dude." Thursday, was it Thursday on my way down? Hey, come down to Dale Hollow, fish. Are you going to catch big fish? And he was all upset because his pre-fishing wasn't very good. But then he put on a clinic pretty much almost the entire time. Your second day of the Open was a little rough, but you still placed well. And yeah, guys, congratulations, man.
Thank you.
Pre-fishing went well. We eliminated a lot of water.
That's the point, right? So, well, Chris was giving me a hard time. I was like, it's okay, dude. You'll find him. And he did. You guys both did. So
Normally I don't.
But so we thought we'd have you guys on here and do a recap and see how your weekend was, what worked, what didn't, what type of water you guys found was productive, and see what your overall feeling was for the format, and anything we could do to try to improve it and what you liked about it. So we'll go into it first with we'll go with Chris Jauch. Chris, how did you feel leading up to the tournament through pre-fishing, and kind of what did you see in regards to you could kind of touch into the Open, and we'll also talk about the actual Clash of Clubs.
Yeah, we got there Wednesday morning pretty early. I don't know. I think it was like around 8 o'clock-ish is when I got there. And I went up north into Kentucky to fish the first half of the day. Some famous fishing personality I know that's on this webcast that told me about a few spots up there. So I went to check them out and had a lot of success. There were a lot of fish up there. The only problem is it was so dang far. Yeah. And the sad thing is I decided I didn't want to go up there. So I kind of, told everybody there wasn't a lot of fish up there, but the guy who won the tournament went up there and fished the same spot I was in. Caught a lot of fish. I knew they were there, but I've also found, then the second day, Chris Anderson and I went to a couple spots, and one of the creeks we went to, I got tons of hits. I knew there were fish all over there. I'm like, let's drive 30 minutes or an hour and a half or whatever it was. So no brainer.
Yeah.
So I felt pretty good going into the tournament. And I went to the same spot those first 2 days, and I caught a lot of fish.
Heck yeah. So go ahead, Brad.
That just, it stinks that part of the lake was that far away from check-in.
Right.
Yeah. Well, we kind of knew that would be the case. I mean, most of the other places are in general kind of on the farther side, but Richard put us up, at a nice place. We all, Mike's familiar with it from last year's meetup, and we had a really good time. So it was kind of a no-brainer for us to choose that location for the check-in and everything. So that barn is huge too. So if we would have had more people, we'd have been able to definitely fit, a lot more people. So, but what did you find was working for you bait wise, and what kind of water were you fishing?
I was fishing all soft plastics. I found that, when I got there Wednesday morning, the second cast, I caught a pretty nice fish, and I was getting hits on every 3 or 4 casts. I was just using a plastic crawl up there. Just, that's kind of what I use for a search bait. Anything is going to bite those things. And the way I do it is if I start getting bites, I, stop fishing that area, switch to something else, or move away. Let's see if something else gets hits up there too, and just leave them for game day.
Heck yeah.
I do the same thing. Well, what was the water temperature?
62, 63. It was like a degree or 2 warmer up there, which was funny because I think it was sometime Saturday. Adam Reiser was talking about, why would you not fish somewhere that had a degree or 2 warmer water? I'm sitting there thinking like, oh crap, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Woulda, shoulda, coulda.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Mike, how was your pre-fishing, and what did you kind of find that worked? Because I know you kind of took a chance and fished down in the river.
Yeah, I was kind of running gun. The first 2 days of pre-fishing, I really didn't cast a lot. I was kind of just checking things out and seeing what seemed good. John Graves, I picked him up to take him down there, and on our way to the cabin, we were driving right over Sunset Marina. So you and I checked that out last time in the meetup, and I was like, well, we're going right over it. Why don't we check that out? I've heard some good things. So we went and checked that out. I mean, you could have walked across that river with all the debris in it.
Yeah.
We didn't spend much time there, maybe an hour and a half there to basically just eliminate that out of our options to fish. So, and then we went over to Lilydale, where you and I had fished last year. It looked pretty good. I didn't see a lot of, I didn't get a lot of hits, didn't have a lot of casts, just kind of abused the torpedo, checking things out. I actually saw some small spotted bass, some decent ones, that were right up on shore, like parallel with the shore, as shallow as they could be without being out of the water, and then some suspended in bushes. So I was like, all right, I'm going to keep that in my back pocket. And then we called it a day for that day. And then that was Wednesday. So Thursday, I checked out the river a little bit. The West Fork of the Obi, and it was, water was 6 foot up. So it was kind of weird for me because when I was there in October, the water was down like 12, 15 feet, and now it's up 6 feet over what it normally is. So I went out and checked some stuff out up there, and just wasn't real comfortable with anything.
Did that affect the water clarity at all?
In some spots it did. It wasn't nearly as clear as it was in October, but like I said, that water had been drawn down quite a bit, so there wasn't really anything to make it turbulent. But water clarity wasn't terrible anywhere except for that Sunset Marina. Like I said, it was just full of debris. I mean, big trees, little trees. It looked like mulch.
Yeah, man. I remember driving over the main lake on my way in on Thursday and seeing I remember going over Cumberland first.
Right.
I was like,
Cumberland was a mess too.
Yeah. And I was
heard Dale Hollow was like that the week before.
Oh yeah. I mean, everything in Tennessee was virtually like that from all the rain. I mean, they had a big, flooding events kind of happening. So I was kind of worried that it'd still be dirty. But then Richard sent that video. And so I got all hopeful, but not realizing, that was just basically the river, from leaving the marina. the Obey River, and he, I mean, the water looked decent. You know, it had that nice green color. It did dirty up a little bit because it did rain on Thursday pretty good. And then it rained. What day was it that it rained real hard again? Saturday. Yeah, Saturday again. So it dirtied it up, but for the most part, the river, it had debris in it because I remember there was a ton of debris around the marina itself and up on the shoreline and everything. But overall, it wasn't too hateful. You know, it wasn't super chocolatey milk like everything else was that I had seen on the way down. So, but Chris, what was your pre-fishing experience? What did you find? What was working for you? And you know, what choices did you make on the open?
I pretty much got lucky on the open and as well as the Clash of the Clubs. My pre-fishing, Chris and I headed to the dam, as the YouTube videos and the current reports were saying that was an area where both to the right and to the left of the dam people were catching. And we got there, we put in, we looked from the ramp and we said, we think we can make it. It's going to be a little bit of a haul, but we can make it. And then we got on the water and realized how far we had to go out around this peninsula. It was not even a point, it was a peninsula. And by the time we got to the end of it, we were like, we're not going to make this. There's no way. The water was looked pretty good there, but didn't catch anything and didn't fish real hard. Then we went back and stopped on the way back. It was Chris had the location that we were going to fish at Mitchell Creek, and we went there and caught a couple. Missed one, but picked up two. Similar on pre-fishing to what Chris was. I was throwing a weighted like a Nico rig with a Senko, and picked up two largemouth that were, one was smaller and one was pretty decent, about 16 inches.
Yeah, you love that Nico rig, man.
I'm a fan of it. I like the I prefer that over a wacky rig. I don't know why. It just gets down. I think the action personally for me works better with the way that I fish because I fish pretty fast.
Yeah.
Were you seeing fish on your graph like close to the bottom?
I started picking up big bait balls, and the bait balls were anywhere from, they were in 8 to 12 feet of water. And that pattern kind of played out for me as the tournament went. And, you know, at Dale Hollow, you could be in 8 feet of water, 3 feet off the bank, or you could be in 8 feet of water, 30 feet off the bank. But that was where, as we turned into the tournament, keying in on those bait balls and the fish that were associated with them was where my plan came together.
Yeah, Chris, you said something that was interesting when we were on the water. It seemed to be true that it's like the big fish were all in the points and secondary points. Like they were trying to keep the bait balls, the bait balls into those coves. It's funny. That's exactly all the fish were.
Mike found that out when he fished. So it was day one, and I know we're kind of past the point of the pre-fishing, but day one I had a limit by 7:15.
Wow.
I had a 5 fish, and that's never happened to me ever before. So I didn't really know what to do, and I didn't want to beat the spot up. But I probably caught, if you took 2 full-size trucks, stuck them side by side, I mean, that was all the bigger the area was that I caught fish in. Wow. And it was probably a total of 20 casts over 40 minutes, and picked up 2 17s, 17 and a half, and 2 that were just shy of 15. And 4 of the 5 fish were smallmouth. And I just got lucky, and I said, man, don't want to beat these up too bad. And then I left that spot by 8 o'clock and tried to search for some larger fish. But I guess it was on day 2, Mike came in there, and he noticed the bait balls and did exactly what Chris said, is that he felt like and it made sense that the bass were pretty much trapped and cornered all of the bait back in this cove. ate when they wanted to eat, but also just kept them bottlenecked like the predators they are, all back in the all back from that area, and kept them from getting out of the cove.
It's interesting.
So that's where they all were, because when I actually got to fish on Sunday, I couldn't find a single bait ball. The only one that I could find, or the only things I could find, were actually in the marina that I launched out of. You know, the river
was pretty bare.
Yeah, and when I went to Horse Creek on Sunday, and I was in at Kilroy, and I got beat up by the wind the whole day, and ended up leaving early so I could get back here in time. But it was rough going out there. Like, the only thing I marked that, you know, I could tell were, you know, bait balls and probably bass were in the marina. So it gave me, I should have stayed there, but it gave me a little bit of hope that maybe that creek arm was going to be, you know, productive. And I mean, I went in different types of areas, fished different kinds of points, main points, secondary points, like just could not buy a bite. Once in a while I'd get a tap, but I was convinced that I think I was throwing close to some wood and stuff a lot of times. I think I was getting bit by crappie, because the crappie fishing was on fire. There was guys every day coming back to East Point at the marina, just cleaning bucket loads of fish, man. Like, just amazing. They're just every day. They're like, you guys got to get out there and crappie fish. We're like, we're doing a bass tournament. Sorry, but
yeah. I remember being out there one time a couple years ago this time of the year, and I saw a Amish guy pulling his boat with his buggy, and he came out of the water one day, and he had a load of crappie. I was like, crappie fishing's good, and he's like, it was on fire. I'm like, dude's dedicated.
The Amish guy said on fire.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like that. It was on fire.
Cool. It was pretty cool.
Tip his hat to you. Good day.
Were those bass spawning yet, though?
Yeah. Definitely.
Roger caught all of his sight fishing, apparently. So if they weren't by where I was, or they were getting ready, possibly.
Yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned on the points and pushing the bait fishing, so I figured they were just getting ready to go into the coves to spawn.
Sure, there's probably
like they might have.
Yeah, there's probably some that were, you know, I mean, the spawn comes in stages, especially in a big lake like that. You're going to get some that will find, you know, like up north where the water was warmer. Because I remember when I was down south and in the river, the day that the open started on Friday, that morning, because it was kind of chilly, the water temperature down there was only like, I think I had 57 degrees. I don't know that I broke 60. If I broke 60, it was when I got shallow and the water was in like direct sunlight. Like it'd been there like in direct sunlight since the morning. But yeah, from what I understood, trying to you guys kind of found some of those, you know, pretty good, because everything that I found that was on points or whatever, I just did not mark fish. I could not find bait fish. So, you know, after talking with Adam, he was like, you know, flooded timber was where he was successful, but it was kind of cool to hear that you guys kind of found a pattern that involved like, you know, 8 to 12 feet of water. You're finding bait fish, you're back in a cove, you know, and that sort of thing. Because, I mean, both Chris's here did well. Mike, what did you place in the open?
I held on a 10th. I only had one fish the second day. It was 18.5, but I didn't catch my limit the second day. Otherwise, I would have been probably closer to the middle of the pack.
Yeah, you'd have probably been towards the top if you'd have caught a limit on that second day. Because, I mean, both Chris's, you guys sort of struggled a little bit. Chris Jauch came out real quick in the second day. I remember seeing you jump to the top right away. But
I had 2 fish in the first 10 minutes.
Yeah.
In the next cast, I had another fish, and I lost it. And I was using Senkos. And he took my last Senko. There was a very specific Gary Yamamoto green pumpkin was the only one I was catching fish on, because I was sinking it down to 10 feet, because above 10 feet they were all dinks, and I caught a ton of those. But I was trying to get it down to that, you know, around 10 feet. There was a ledge down there where there were a bunch of big ones, and when I could get it down there, I was catching fish, and I had no more. You know, at 8:15 or like 6:15 in the morning, I had no more Senkos and I caught no more fish.
Oh,
Well, no more big ones. So,
that sucks.
I mean, it felt good catching those two real quick like that. Then
what did you end up throwing after that then?
Well, the night before, the 153 bait guys were at and so they had a whole bunch of green, their version of saying they're donkey tails, I think they are 5-inch donkey tails. And so I bought a big, huge gallon bag of those. And I went through a lot of them today. I caught so many fish. I went through like 3 bags of the Gary Yamamoto ones, and I tried, and they just didn't work. Yeah, they were fine. The fish would bite them, but I couldn't get them down below the dinks. So I was catching small ones all day, so I had to leave and try something else.
Yeah.
And there was where I was fishing, it was about I don't know, Chris Anderson, it was about maybe 150-foot stretch right off the main point. And I was just going up and down that thing for hours and catching fish. And the big ones were in there.
On day 2, you were guarded from those. You were guarded from those glitter boat guys on day 2.
Yeah, those guys were idiots. Jesus.
Agreed.
Ridiculous. You think they'd have little manners?
No, man.
What did the guy say to you?
Yeah, a guy cut right in front of me, and he said, "Sorry about that. I'm in a tournament." I'm like, "Me too." He's like, "I'm not worried about your tournament."
Are you serious?
Yeah. I mean, a big fancy $100,000 boat and all kinds of pretty stickers on it, and I don't know who the heck he was.
I was out there during a Bassmaster tournament one time, man, and so these guys were just zipping in and out. They would throw 3 casts at like a tree or something, then they'd zip back out. Then another guy would come in.
By midday Sunday, that whole cove was ruined because so many boats were zipping in and out. It was just the shoreline was trashed.
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah, but it's my fault for I lived and died by that area.
All right. Well, we got kind of your guys' open game plan, and you guys made a move, which I think was super successful move, and I was I wasn't shocked because I knew you guys kind of felt like you might have worn out or had your spots worn out, especially with the bass tournament, the big boat tournament that was going on. So let's talk about the move you guys made as a team. It was sort of I don't want to say Hail Mary, but I don't think you guys even had thought about prior to that or even pre-fish this area. Maybe you did, but Chris Anderson, tell me about what you guys decided to do for the Clash of Clubs, the team event that we did.
We were talking with some of the other guys at the weigh-in Saturday night, and we kind of look up there, and the group was Southern Illinois. I was in 5th, and Chris was in 6th, and Mike was in 10th. So you got to feel pretty daggone good about that. But then, the guys who were fishing in that group, I think were like 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, maybe, or just right in that group. So we're like, man, what we caught's not going to work, and it kind of dried up on day 2. So the heck with it. Let's figure something else out, and let's go see a different part of the lake. So was it Starlight or Starling?
Starpoint.
Well, the marina Starpoint. Thanks, guys. We decided to go to Starpoint Marina. Appreciate the tip, Andrew. That paid off for us. And we put in, none of us had ever fished there, and we kind of went in 3 different directions. The makeup of our team and the styles of fishing, I think, really helped us because, like Chris said, he that 150-foot stretch or 200-yard stretch, I mean, he grinded the heck out of that. And he kind of did the same thing on Sunday with a similar stretch. And I went out, and my pattern that I was catching on held. I was, main lake points, finding that 8 to 12 feet of water. And Grimsley laughs at me and gives me crap all the time because the way that I caught fish really doesn't make sense. Because, you find those suspended fish, you're going to throw a jerk bait. You're going to throw something that's going to sit in that area and have a little bit of longevity there. And not me. I was throwing a 3 to 5 foot diving square bill. 3 of them in particular, 6 cents axis. The DT6 got down a little bit deeper, and a mega bass. And I was just running parallel to those points and getting smoked. The wind really made it a pain in the butt, but and then Mike, he's got the Torpedo with the 1103, and he's got this foot steering stuff that he's got, and he can zip on. He can zip all around. Foot steering. You got to ask him about
it's all about the foot steering.
He was all over the lake, and he was covering quite a bit of water where I wasn't covering quite as much, and then Chris was just grinding it out in that same spot. So, together in the area that we fished, you'd be hard pressed to cover the water with the quality that we covered the water with three guys, just based on our fishing styles.
And what'd you end up with? What was your limit? 90?
90 and a half.
90 and a half?
90 and a half. I had a 17 and a half. Thank you. 17 and a half, 3 18s, and a 19. And every time I caught one fish, I caught two fish. That was the thing with those points. Like the first two fish of the morning, I threw the one time I didn't throw parallel with the shore. I threw perpendicular to it. I got stuck by a pretty good largemouth, at one of those 18-inch largemouths. And then the very next cast, I threw across the tree back on a point, and I had a hit, and I missed it. And I'm like, oh, son of a gun. So I threw it again, and then I got smoked by an 18-inch smallmouth. And that started the day pretty well for me.
Yeah, I saw him right after that. And I was like, hey, man, how's it going? He's like, oh, I just got two. I'm like, what are you throwing? He's like, a DT6. I'm like, oh, you're throwing it up on shore? He's like, no, in 12 feet of water. I'm like, that's stupid. I'm not doing that. And then I went on my way, and he caught like 12 fish.
There are a lot of things we didn't used to do.
And later, I had I had 18 and a half and 18, and it's doing pretty good. And I was like, Chris, come here. I was like, you got to throw this. And I was like, I'm doing really well. And he's like, do you have 90.5 beat? And I'm like, no, is that what someone has? He's like, no, dude, that's what I have. And I was like, shit. I was like, shit, I was happy to have him on our team.
That's hilarious.
I thought I was going to teach him something. And he's like, no, dude, I have like 9 fish. I was like, oh, okay, never mind.
What was everybody else's limits?
I had 84 and a half, I think, or 85 and a half.
I messed around out in the wind, and Chris, when he says he was on those points and it was kind of windy, it was like a constant 20-mile-an-hour wind and gust, 30, 40 miles an hour. And he sat out there on those points, and I thought it was crazy. I couldn't even hardly fish in the coves. So I had to go back in the marina into one of the protected coves back there. And I don't know how he sat out there, but crap, he was catching fish.
I don't know how anybody was fishing in that without a 360.
Right.
I mean, it was just the wind did whatever it wanted with you, and there's a couple times where I was back in those coves where I would have been like that Suez Canal boat where I'd have just been stuck between two trees going back and forth.
It was bad, man. I would go back in some of those coves. I mean, I was going way back, to find some flooded timber or whatever. And I would find those waterfalls, and it'd be like a little cutout, dude. And I'd be sitting in it, and I'm like, I'll be protected by the wind. Nope, I would just sit there and spin in a circle, man.
Oh, it finds you, man. Where I caught all my fish. It was 2 different little sloughs right by the marina. After, of course, doing a Grimsley thing and running all over the lake first, I caught all my fish within like 150 yards of the ramp. But it was on the downwind side of the lake where the water was pushing into those coves, and there was a emergent grass that was kind of, I think it's typically out of the water, but since the water was so high, it was a little bit in the water. Only on the east banks of these sloughs was that grass there, and I caught fish all along those. It was crazy. It was probably one of the first times in my life where I actually was like, hey, this is a pattern, and I was smart enough to realize that that's what it was.
Yeah.
And I just
was that where we fished in the morning when we came out, went to the right side?
No, I went to that. Well, I don't remember. I burned up the Torpedo that day. It was the only day I had more than 25% left when I got back. But if you went to the ramp and went to the right, I was in those first 2 right there. And I just went back and forth pitching a green pumpkin, red flake crawl on there, and it just crushed it. And sort of like what you were saying, Chris, that the initial crawl I had was one that I had tied on since Wednesday and hadn't thrown, and I tossed it in there and caught a fish on the first cast, and then that thing just kept getting beaten up, and I kept biting chunks a 1/4 inch off there. So finally the hook was as far back as it could go and still be in the bait. And I switched it after my 4th fish, and it slowed down after I put a fresh one on. It was a lucky bait, I guess.
Interesting.
Nice. Well,
I went
congratulations.
5 days without catching a smallmouth, by the way. Again.
It's all right. The only fish I caught while I was there was a crappie.
Oh, jeez.
Day one of the tournament, the Open, I was going to go to Lilydale, and Richard was talking about they had gone up the West Fork of the Obi River and did really well up by the rapids. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm intrigued, and I want to do some exploration. So I went over 5 miles run up that river to where the rapids were supposed to be, but the water was so high they weren't there. So I went another 1/2 mile to where water was. It was like 3 feet deep all the way up there, and it looked like smallmouth heaven. And I didn't catch anything up there.
Dude, that picture you posted was sweet. I was like, yeah, that looks awesome.
The one with the 2 big rocks.
Yeah, you had your kayak parked, and then the
so where that kayak was pulled up on shore was the all the way up at the top. But with that one where I took a picture and there was like 2 rock points that I was in, that's where on day 1, that's where I caught about 30 fish in about a 1/2 an hour, 40 minutes of just tiny little. I would throw into a spot with a Nico on my medium light spinning rod, and I would watch my line and it would stop, and then I would just count to 3 and then reel up, and I had a fish on it every time. But the biggest one was 13.5.
Yeah.
But it saved my limit on day 1.
Yeah.
I don't think we got Chris Jauch. I don't think we got your limit total for the Clash of Clubs.
It was only 60s. It was high 60s, I think. I can't remember exactly off the top of my head. I was running around out in the wind playing, not catching a thing. I mean, just every time I'd cast, the wind would blow me. I couldn't see the line. And finally around noon, I said, screw it. I need to go do what I do. And I went back down to where the marina was.
Yeah.
And then right away, I started catching fish. And I got 4, and then I ran out of time, couldn't get that 5th one.
Mr. Anderson's limit would have won for you guys. Isn't that what
we could have stayed in bed.
Yeah,
that's ridiculous. I saw that. The second place
I couldn't believe it.
What was second place?
Was 90 and a quarter.
That's crazy.
We really thought they were just going to be beating them up, man. And we were fishing so hard the whole day, and we're like, we got to get this. And when they brought both teams up there, first of all, we outweighed them by 2.5 times. Like, these guys were like,
they were all real small guys.
Featherweights, and we're all.
What was the comment you said, Mike?
I said it looked like a before and after Jenny Craig commercial.
That was funny.
And these guys, so when Brian said Brian brought up the second place check and it had the 90 and a quarter on there, I'm like, I wonder why they put just the top guys on there. And then when they announced that we had like 234, 236, some crazy number compared to theirs, I was like, oh my God, I kind of felt bad for him. But
I was surprised.
I was it was crazy. Chris put on the clinic.
They caught a lot of fish Friday, Saturday, and I was worried.
Well, that win was, I think, was a game changer for a lot of people. No matter where you were, it was just impossible to escape it.
Yeah.
I heard it was coming from every direction too, right?
Oh yeah, dude.
Well, it winds its way through those hollers and stuff. So
it's I mean, I would hit it and you could hear it like circle around you through the trees as it would hit the bank line and come up behind you, like, because it was blowing hard enough at times. Like, if it was like below 15, you kind of, and you're in a cove, you're okay. But then when it would gust up in the 20s and 30s, you could hear it circle around inside the cove and hit the walls and, bounce right back, hit you from behind. Like, it was just insane.
It would come through the trees blowing leaves at you too sometimes.
And usually you would hear it first.
Oh, yeah.
And so you would hear it, and it really made going to the bathroom miserable.
I was going to say, yeah, there's definitely my boat's like an R. Kelly date.
Yeah, that happened to me Sunday.
I stood up and I thought I had like a break in the wind, and I'm pointed away from my fish finder, and then I hear it before it comes, and I'm like, oh, and then I'm going like this. It was not easy to do.
Good thing for scupper holes everywhere on that hobby.
Yeah.
I'm still going to invent the beer bong pee machine. Like, it's going to be like a beer bong with a tube, and you just stick it down and it's scupper. Or a bottle. Yeah, something like that. But, well, congratulations, you guys. You guys put on a good showing. We had a huge turnout from our Ohio guys. It was pretty cool. I think we had probably the most people involved in the tournament came from Ohio. So appreciate you guys, making the venture down there. It was really good having you guys.
Oh, it was awesome. You guys did a great job putting it together. I think there's a lot of people that regretted not committing to going because it was a great time.
Yeah, they unbelievable how, besides the facility with Richard and those guys, the farm, but that tournament was put together well. I can't believe there weren't a lot more people there.
Susie and Brian know what they're doing, man.
Yeah.
Oh, everything was perfect.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, probably the only challenge being there is just no cell service, but everyone, was able to put the fish in the live well and then, get back to where they can get service and get it in. But everything's so fun. Even the river right there. I mean, it's so good. And a lot of guys did real well just leaving right from the marina there. So you didn't even have to go far.
Yeah, it's definitely not crazy great in the river there, but I guarantee there are spots there that are. It's just, getting the time in, and it's just like anything. You guys got there, you spent time, you eliminated water, you did what you needed to do to be successful in the tournament. You listened, we all talked and chatted and had a good time, and and then you applied what you learned from other anglers and what you guys learned doing your homework, and it paid off. You guys, Chris got his big checks finally,
multiple in a kayak.
I mean, Chris Jauch has it sitting in the back corner over there, like he's sleeping with it at night, basically.
Oh yeah.
I got this right here. People give me crap for not dealing with it enough, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's sweet.
I hung in the house the whole weekend.
Yeah.
I remember Chris Anderson, the first tournament you entered with us 2 years ago. You're like, I want a big check. I'm going to get a big check.
That's what I wanted from day one. If you talk to Brian Tacey, when he does his, he sends out for Cincinnati Kayak Fishing. He does a great job of where do you guys want to fish? What do you want to do? I mean, I just wrote big ass check. That's all I wanted. And when Jay came and he's like, do you guys like the checks rather than trophies? I was like, this is the best thing that's ever happened to me, besides my wife and my daughter.
Good save.
But I was like, this is what I've always, I so much would rather have that than a trophy.
Yeah.
And the best part was it kind of felt like normal. It felt like we as a community, and Cincinnati's kayak fishing is awesome. It's a great group of guys, and that we could go in and we could interact. We started to interact. We were laughing. It wasn't completely remote that you're showing up with one buddy and kind of walking past people at the boat ramp. And that to me was something that is why I really enjoy this, is the biggest reason why I enjoy this. But just the fact that we had the camaraderie, that we had the crap talking, that we had the laughs,
Mm-hmm.
You try to be in a room with Chris and John, or Chris, Mike, and John and Josh. I mean, well, first off, we forgot to thank Josh because Mike forgot his identifier.
I did. Well, I was having a good time. I was meeting other anglers. And I didn't realize that I didn't have an identifier for the group tournament. So Josh saved the day. But did he though? Because if I would have been disqualified, we would have still won. Because Chris is the man.
Well,
awesome.
it was no big deal, man. I should have actually, when you guys told me that, I should have packed my stuff up and stayed with you.
Oh,
and
that'd have been
instead,
fun.
my dumbass decides to drive. I had to go up to the farm, get identifiers. Of course, while I'm up there, the 153 guys were up there because they actually brought down a camper and they were staying right next to the farm. And for those who are wondering what we're talking about with the farm, Richard at Eastport Marina has a beautiful wedding venue style kind of, I don't even want to call it a barn. It's a building and it's all wood. It's gorgeous, man. And it's beautiful rolling hills outside of it, real nice grass, big fence around it. It's absolutely stunning. And those guys stayed up and put their camper next door to the main venue building. And so when I went up there, they were, and they've been doing this for hours. They had been doing this since we all left. Because I remember when we all started to take off, they busted out all the split rings and everything like that on baits, and they were just making baits. And I pull up, and it's like 9:30 at night or whatever, and they're still at the table doing this. And they're Matt and John are both like dead tired. Like Matt turns around, he's got bags under his eyes. He's talking about spilling his orange juice all over the place and how pissed off he was about it. And so I sat there and talked to them for a while I'm cutting up identifiers. And so I decide to, I don't know, I was there probably like 30 or 40 minutes. So I'm like, I got to get out of here. I got to drive a half an hour to go drop these identifiers off to you guys. So I drive up there. Of course, I get there, and I'm dead tired by the time I get up there. I'm sitting there on that couch with you guys, and you're all tired and getting ready for bed. And I'm like, oh, I should have just packed the kayak, because I ended up coming back. It's midnight by the time I get home. I set my alarm, got up at 4:30 in the morning, packed my kayak up because we had taken the kayak and I had stuck it next to the houseboat. I had taken it out of the water because of the rain that we got, and being the Kilroy doesn't have scupper plugs, obviously. So we put it in underneath the awning of the houseboat next to us. So when I'd gotten back Saturday night, I rigged the boat, set it off to the side, knowing we didn't have rain. I should have just grabbed it and put it on the truck and stayed with you guys, because the next morning I made a 45-minute drive on 4 hours of sleep to fish and quit by like 12:30. So
if you stayed with us, you would have gotten to sleep in, because we took our time getting out of there. If there was a Bob Evans nearby, we probably would have got breakfast.
Yeah. But, it was a good time. I mean, we always me and Mike are notorious for doing silly things like that. Like, you guys left it like in the middle of the morning, didn't you? Like real early, probably to get down there at 8. So, but it's going to lead me into my next question. If you guys were to change something about the format that we had this weekend, we want to look at ways to improving this overall, right? We want to make it, we want to have more anglers involved, and so we were, sort of disappointed with the turnout. But we were really proud of how the tournament went and how it was organized and where we stayed and everything. What would be something you would want to change? Anderson, I'll start with you.
What I'd want to change, because I was thinking about my favorite thing about it first. I've got that locked and loaded. But what I would change, maybe running the two tournaments consecutively. 3 days of fishing, including a day of pre-fishing, takes a Thursday, Friday into a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or, by the time you travel and get down there. And that could be hard. And I think that might've been a little bit of a deterrent, because some of those guys from Georgia came up just for the team event, but they didn't fish the open, which, you would kind of think that you would want to do. And honestly, after 4 days of sitting in my kayak as long as I did to figure that stuff out, I don't want to. I haven't sat at work. I've used the stand up desk. It was,
sorry, boys.
It was just that's a long time to just grind it out for 4 days and continue to fish hard. That would be the only thing that I may consider. I would definitely do it again next year in a heartbeat, but kind of depending on how that worked out, that could maybe work. But I mean, that would be kind of my
guys who go do the Hobie and KDF series that hit the road and go do that quite often. It gives you an appreciation of what they're going through, because it was a grind.
Yeah. Understand that.
What about you, Grimsley? What do you think? What could we improve upon, and what did you like the most?
I like getting together with everyone. It was great to meet some of the other Ohio guys. I'd fished with Drew Neer a couple times, but Drew Neer, Jake Epking, and Andrew Carpenter were there, and we had a great time. Our table was, I think everyone was jealous how much fun we were having, and just joking around. But those guys, and it was a weird thing. It was almost like COVID didn't exist for 4 or 5 days, just because how Tennessee is kind of lax on that. Mm-hmm. And there wasn't mask, and I kind of forgot about it and got comfortable in that, and then didn't realize it until driving back and getting into Kentucky, where you go into a gas station, everyone's got masks on. You're like, oh crap, I forgot. Like it was a little bit back to normalcy, but it was, the food was great, everything. I mean, I don't know what the what was the issue with why there wasn't 1 million people there, because that was really one where I thought there would be just especially Tennessee guys and Alabama guys and all those guys there. They really missed out. I don't know if it was because it was a Saturday, Sunday, or Friday, Saturday thing or not, but there's not anything that I can think of that would be improved upon. I had a great time.
Cool. Chris Jauch, what do you think, bud?
Yeah, the only thing I could say is maybe if, lake that big, if you can fish the far end of it, make it so wherever the far end, the furthest point, that from the time lines out to the time you have to check in, let you fish those places all day long, and then give enough time to check out to get back. Because I would have had quit fishing an hour early if I went up north where the winter fish where Adam Reiser was fishing. So, if it takes you an hour, 20 minutes, hour, 30 minutes to get back from there, then, give enough time to, lines out, load up and get down there. Otherwise, you're driving like an idiot to make it on time. You know what that road's like going down towards the farm. Man. Holy cow, driving 70 through those curves, just trying to get there by 4 o'clock. It's nothing else, make it a little safer and give everybody time to get there and let them fish all day too.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
tough.
Yeah. I mean, and it's like that for pretty much all those tournaments. That's kind of the norm. So the one thing, I agree with you guys on some of the points that you were making. Whether maybe we separate the Clash and make it its own event might be a good thing. I do like the 2-day format for the Open. You've got that going on with these other tournaments already. So I do like that.
I like that too.
Yeah. And it's, the price for being, $100 entry fee for a 2-day tournament like that is, it's a good price, because it's not like too high up there. You're thinking about it's like $50 a day, a lot of the tournaments are close to that price anyway. So, but maybe separating the Clash of Clubs, or if you're going to do both events in the same weekend, maybe making the Open a 1-day event. Because that was the one thing that a lot of the guys were saying, that they didn't want to have to take off a day of work on Friday, to do that tournament. That's one of the big things we heard about regarding, the Tennessee folks that didn't make it out, that they just couldn't get off work. So, but we'll go back to the drawing board with it. We do have the next event is going to be on the Tippecanoe River in Indiana. What city is that? Do you guys know?
Monticello.
Okay.
That one is going to have a huge turnout, I think.
Hope so, man. It'll be cool seeing it. I'm
thinking about making that run before the CKF tournament on Sunday.
Are you really?
I'm thinking about it.
Nice.
I got that phone call today. He's like, talk me out of doing this. And I said, I can't. I would.
Hey, and I hear there's a lot of
but you can.
Fish.
You hear what, Brad?
I hear there's a lot of 20-inch fish in that river.
Yeah, I heard that too. And I haven't caught a smallie all year, so I went down to a world-class smallmouth fishery and didn't catch a smallmouth. And I only caught one little one last year, so it's like I'm determined.
Yeah.
It's
St. Clair's coming up though.
Yeah. I can't wait to go back there.
Me too.
But I appreciate you guys taking the time out. Come on, talk to us about this. It was a great time. Thank you for coming down. It was a lot of fun. It was good seeing you guys down there. It was cool meeting all the new Ohio faces. I got to meet Brad's dudes from 153 Baits.
Great guys.
And yeah, man, it was a really good time. So, hopefully we can make this grow and keep the trail series alive and keep getting a good turnout. And, but hopefully we'll see you guys at a couple of the other events. I know Mike will possibly be up at that Maumee River Lake Erie.
Oh yeah,
event.
the party is at my place in the Maumee River one or the Lake Erie one.
Your dad will be like, no. But thanks for jumping on. Anybody else got anything else to add?
Nope.
Appreciate you having us.
I just wanted to thank Richard.
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah. Richard over at East Point.
Sorry, I was just going to say thank Richard.
What else?
They were awesome. They were great hosts. I mean, thank you, Paddle and Fin. Thank you, Paddle and Fin, for having this. All I can say is, I know you guys weren't thrilled with the turnout, but I don't think that there is a person that was there that had a bad time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And as long as you continue to do that, have the venue, have that kind of stuff, it's going to grow. There's no doubt. I mean, next year I'll be back. I'll put in my vacation request right now. Not just because I had fish, but because of the whole package of everything that it was.
Yeah, definitely was a good time.
It definitely. And it's got it's got like a extravaganza kind of feel to it with, the tackle guys that were there and giving away the kayaks. I've been to a Hobie event, and it's almost 3 times the amount of money to go to that, and I had a great time with this. At $100, it's for a 2-day tournament. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah,
and there was a lot of diversity in the sports that were down there because there was the top 5 female coon hunter in the country was there.
Okay. All righty. Well, we'll wrap it up. Everybody, thank you.
She was selling baits.
It was it definitely was good. Richard, man, you put us up in a great place.
Killed it.
Thank you for letting us stay at the houseboats. And thank you for feeding us well. I know that everybody on the nacho night was on the verge of throwing up because they ate so much food. But Brian Schiller almost had a heart attack in the Jay's truck. Mike Grimsley probably was on the verge of throwing up the entire time.
I was going to delve into bulimia for a minute there, but once I was able to unbutton my pants, I was okay.
But again, thank you, Eastport Marina, for being so gracious, with your facilities and helping us out with this. So with that, we'll wrap things up. Brad, you got anything else?
Nope.
All right. Well, thank you guys, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, guys. See you soon.
Bye.
See ya.
Thanks for tuning in to another killer episode on Paddle and Fin. Don't forget to go check out our website at paddle_n_fin.com. Don't forget to check out the YouTube channel at Paddle and Fin. If you got a question, comment, want to hear from a future guest on a future episode, feel free to email us at paddle_n_fin@gmail.com. Don't forget to follow us on social media at Paddle and Fin on Facebook and Instagram. Shout out to our show supporters, Angler. The Angler button and app just makes for a better time on the water and creates a virtual logbook for every fishing outing out on the water. Shout out to Rocktown Adventures, located in northern Illinois, for all your kayaking, camping, and hiking needs. Shout out to Jig Masters Jigs. When in doubt, get the jig out. Go to jigmasters.com